let's start today's session. We talked about CPU. Now, everyone have the same energy. Yes, Ravi Shankar, you will get hands-on in the upcoming 6 courses. We have our own labs. We provide labs, they're known as racks. Okay, racks by networkings. So we provide that by ourselves. And I'll show you how do we do that in today's class when I talk about storage. Okay, so yeah, hi everyone. Let's keep the same energy that we had yesterday. Now, what is a RAM? We were talking about hardware components that make up a computer. We were talking about hardware components that make up a computer. And these components are going to be common for every computing device. Yes or no? A processor is common to every computing device, right? A RAM is also going to be common to every computing device, right? So what is a RAM? What does a RAM do? What functions are provided by a RAM? Run the internal apps. Okay. So guys, yesterday we said that CPU processes input and it just does not give you an output immediately. It takes time, right? It takes time. It takes a lot of time to, and it goes through a lot of stages to provide you output, right? So while input is being converted into output, maybe, you need to store some data temporarily, right? Let's say you click on an application, you run on this game, or you want to run on Visual Studio Code. Okay, this is my application which is used for creating codes. Okay, it's used for coding it. You can code in Python, you can code in JavaScript, you can code in C++ using this code editor called Visual Studio Code. When I'm using this Visual Studio Code, okay, I know that sometimes I will have to save my code so that I can access it when I come back. Okay, when I come back from my break. But while my computer is running, while CPU is processing the input that I'm providing, it requires some temporary storage to store that pieces or to store those blocks. CPU cannot do that. Why CPU cannot do that? Because of limited storage in its registers. We discussed about this right yesterday. We said CPU comes in 32 and 64. So its registers can only deal with at most 64 bits of data. So at that time, what will help you out? RAM. Okay. What will happen at that time? Random access memory will come into play, and it will store your sessions. It will store the live state of the applications that are running, right? So that is what RAM is going to do. RAM is a very powerful memory unit. There is just one downside to RAM, and what is that? There is just one little problem with RAM. क्या problem है guys? RAM की एक छोटी सी problem. क्या problem है? Number one, it is volatile. Okay. So as soon as you switch it off, as soon as you switch your computer off, what will happen? Everything that was there will get erased. So suppose let's take a very simple example here. सबसे easy example लेंगे हम. I was working on Microsoft Word. I create a document here. Okay, I start working on it. मैं कुछ भी लिख रहा हूँ. I'm writing here. I keep on adding my data. What happens is I did not pay attention to my battery. Somehow the battery was too low and the computer shut down. Will I be able to access what I wrote when I come back? No, right? No. But, you know, developers are aware of this. Vendors like Microsoft and Apple are aware of this. That is why they have come up with a small functionality, a very simple but very helpful functionality. Let me show you. These days, they provide you with autosave functionality because they know that humans tend to make mistakes. हाँ कि ना? Yes or no? So उनको पता है कि हम गलतियां कर सकते हैं. So that is why क्या होता है यहाँ पे, इन्होंने यहाँ पे ऑटो सेव का ऑप्शन रखा होता है. एंड ऑल यू नीड टू डू इज दिस. All you need to do is turn it on. All you need to do is turn it on, and automatically, like after certain seconds or certain minutes, your document will get saved and it will get updated. Okay, so this is one thing about RAM. Now I'll tell you one more thing about RAM from a cyber security perspective. Okay, and try to understand this very carefully. RAM's full form is random access memory. Inside its name, there is one thing which is, mentioned clearly: random. Random का क्या मतलब है कि अगली बार जब कोई नई स्टेट सेव होगी किसी चीज की, क्या होगा, हमें नहीं पता कि वो मेमोरी में किस ब्लॉक में जाएगी. Do you agree with me or no? There is one more name for RAM. Do you know what it is? It's non-deterministic memory. It's known as non-deterministic memory. What does non-deterministic memory mean? So if you are an attacker or if you are a hacker, hackers, they have to learn different methodologies. उनमें से कुछ कुछ हो सकती हैं. Guessing the state of next session. Guessing the state of the next session. Will they be able to understand next session कहाँ पे RAM में store होगा? Where will that session be stored inside RAM? Will they be able to find that out? If they are trying to hack into somebody's session or they are trying to sniff somebody's session, will they be able to do that? Ideally, guys, no, they cannot do that. ध्यान से सुनना, इसमें अगर किसी को भी कोई भी प्रॉब्लम है मुझे बताना, ठीक है? Because I deal with cyber security, so I want you guys to pay attention and you should know about it, how RAM works. Okay, RAM is random access memory. A lot of security researchers, a lot of attackers, बहुत सारे attackers, बहुत सारे hackers, बहुत सारे security researchers ने क्या करना चाहा, जब भी कोई communication का session बनता है, ठीक है, on a computer, तो उन्होंने क्या सोचा कि अगर हम अगले सेशन को गेस कर दें तो हमें पता चल जाएगा. ठीक है, जैसे बेटिंग होती है, आगे क्या होने वाला है, आगे जो प्लेयर है वैसे जाएगा या वैसे करेगा. ठीक है, सो सिमिलरली hackers used to think like this, but ideally they cannot guess the state of the session. They cannot guess the state of the session. Understood? But in computer science, magic happens. अब वो magic तो नहीं था, there was actually a problem. I'll show you what it was. So क्या होता था? You go to your browser and you suppose you go to a website. Okay, you go to a website called Yahoo. फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल जो चीज हम देखेंगे, फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल द थिंग दैट वी आर गोइंग टू सी इज दिस लॉक. कैन यू गाइस सी दिस लॉक? कैन यू टेल मी व्हाट दिस लॉक मीन्स? Can you tell me what this lock means, guys? Okay. It means that the website is secure. And how is it secure? It is using a protocol. It is using a protocol called SSL. SSL was the first protocol that was used for website security. ठीक है, secure sockets there. उसके बाद it was updated and its name was changed to TLS. TLS stands for Transport Layer Security. ठीक है. So जो भी हैं हमारे सेशन में, मैं उनको बताना चाहता हूँ कि वेबसाइट के आगे लॉक का साइन का मतलब होता है कि ये वेबसाइट आपकी सिक्योर है. ठीक है. ये एक प्रोटोकॉल पे है जिसका नाम होता है HTTPS, हाइपर टेक्स्ट ट्रांसफर प्रोटोकॉल सिक्योर. सिक्योर कौन बनाता है? सिक्योर बनाता है SSL नाम का एक प्रोटोकॉल. SSL was updated to a protocol named TLS, Transport Layer Security. अब ट्रांसपोर्ट लेयर सिक्योरिटी में क्या होता था? इन ट्रांसपोर्ट लेयर सिक्योरिटी, everyone, there used to be a small function. It used to be known as heartbeat. Heartbeat. What used to happen? So Bakul, SSL is secure sockets layer. TLS is transport layer security. Okay. So in TLS, when communication is happening, ठीक है, अब जैसे this is me, this is me, I'm using my browser, which is Safari, to communicate with a website called yahoo.com. Yahoo.com is located on a web server, right? The web server of Yahoo. Yes or no, everyone? हाँ कि ना? Yes. Okay. So what happens here is if you are using HTTPS, ओके, सो HTTPS में मतलब है सिक्योर, और सिक्योरिटी किससे मिलती है? हमें मिलती है TLS से, ट्रांसपोर्ट लेयर सिक्योरिटी. सो ट्रांसपोर्ट लेयर सिक्योरिटी का एक वर्जन था हमारे पास, आई गेस 1.0 और 1.1, but that you would have to check. वो मेरे को भी थोड़ा सा भूल गया. I forgot the exact version which had this problem. I even did a lab on this. Okay, so this is you. You are the client. This is what? This is the server. So this is you. This is your client. This is server. Okay, or the web server जो yahoo.com का है. So whenever the communication is happening, there is a functionality in TLS. It's called heartbeat. It's called heartbeat. So heartbeat में क्या होगा? A client will send message to the server. अब ये कोई communication वाला message नहीं है. They are not trying to communicate. They are just, this client is just trying to ask the server, hey, are you okay? बीच बीच में पूछ रहे हैं, हाल चाल पूछ रहे हैं कि if you are healthy, if you are okay, if everything is fine with you. Okay. So ये चलता रहा, ये काफी सालों तक चलता रहा. But in 2014, what was found? That you can modify this heartbeat. जो heartbeat message जाता है from a client to a server, you can modify this. And उससे क्या होगा? What will happen in that case? What will happen in that case? अब this web server is going to be hosted on a machine, right? क्योंकि eventually जो भी हम servers की बात करते हैं, server किसी operating system पे होगा. ठीक है. Server is going to be hosted on a machine. Machine के ऊपर operating system run कर रहेगा. ठीक है. So what it used to do, if you modify this heartbeat extension maliciously matlab you add your own code here and you try to ask the server, what will server return? Server will return the current state of its RAM. It will return the current state of its RAM. Right now you would think, ठीक है, what's the problem with this? This is okay. There is no problem in here at all. What could go wrong here? Now I'll tell you what could go wrong. In 2014, security researchers tried to find out what they could do with this. So they started sending multiple messages, multiple heartbeat messages, inside which they used to send their own codes for retrieving the password from the servers, codes for reading the state of the database of the web server. ठीक है, उससे क्या होता रहा, हर टाइम पे नहीं बट बीच बीच में कभी कभी randomly they would get what they wanted. Why? Because they were trying to get the state from a RAM, and RAM is random access memory. So you never know what you will get as a reply to your next heartbeat message. समझ आया? Are you guys able to understand this? Security Plus mein we are going to, have a lab of this topic as well. But did you guys understand how can attackers, retrieve the state of RAM? They cannot do it uh, just using, a foolproof method. There is no foolproof method for reading the state of the RAM. It will always be random in nature. Did you guys understand this a little bit? सबको थोड़ा बहुत समझ आया क्या हो सकता है रैम में from a security perspective? ठीक है? So this was from TLS. This was from TLS, Transport Layer Security. I'll tell you one more thing about RAM. Whenever we say, whenever we talk about RAM, the first thing that you will, tell me is that RAM is volatile. What is volatile? Volatile का क्या मतलब है? What do you mean by volatile, everyone? It's not permanent, which means that as soon as the power supply is lost, as soon as the power supply is lost, you will lose access to the current state of your RAM. Everyone agrees with me on that point? Everyone agrees with me on that point? What if I told you that it is not true? What if I told you that under some conditions it is not true? Okay, I'll talk about one more thing. It's known as cold boot attack. It's known as cold boot attack. What happens in cold boot attack? Everyone knows, everyone, even a kid knows that if you switch off your computer, when you switch it on, if you did not save anything at all, that portion will be erased. That portion will not be there when you switch it back on. But a lot of people don't know that the RAM can preserve its state. जो RAM होती है वो अपनी state preserve कर सकती है at special temperatures. If you give the temperature of minus 45 degrees Celsius to the RAM, it will not lose its state even when the power supply is off. Now you guys must be thinking, maybe I'm crazy. When I have to hack into someone's machine, do I have to take that person's computer to Antarctica? नहीं, हमें Antarctica नहीं लेके जाना है उसका computer. So basically, we have something which is known as a cooling spray. So these are special cooling sprays that are used for performing this attack, which is cold boot attack. What happens in cold boot attack? I'll actually show you. I'll tell you the exact steps. I wrote a blog on it. I wrote an article. I'll show you. So you go to Safari or any of your any of the browsers that you like. So you write cold boot. Wait, I'll show you. You will write side channel attack Adhirath Kapoor. So this is something that I wrote last year for a company called Cybrary. Okay, it is one of the leading cybersecurity providers in the United States. Okay, so right, everyone, and guys, have you received this link to the blog? Okay, awesome. So here I have talked about the hardware attacks. When people say that they want to become hackers, everyone focuses on what they can do with their Kali Linux. Nobody thinks about what can be done through hardware. Cold boot attack. It's this simple. And I'm not kidding. If you have an old computer at your home, which you don't even use these days, you can actually use it to, learn a lot of stuff. You don't have to, buy, expensive computers or ultra expensive courses. You can still do it like this. So what you need to do, you need to prepare a USB drive containing a small footprint of the OS. I'll teach you how to create that small footprint. बिकॉज ये भी तो पता होना चाहिए ना हमें कि हम किस ओएस को एक्सेस करना चाहिए, हम करना चाहते हैं। हम रैम तो निकाल लेंगे, बट हमने अगर हमें पता ही नहीं है ओएस कौन सा, तो हम अटैक कैसे करेंगे, राइट? सो यू नीड टू बी नोइंग अबाउट द ओएस फॉर विच you need to perform this attack. You put a small copy of that OS in a USB drive in a bootable format. ठीक है? After that, as soon as you turn off your computer, jaldi se you spray that freezing spray. When you do that, you take your RAM, you take that RAM जिसको आपने cool किया है, either you keep it on the original machine, or you can even, guys, you don't know about this, but you can even take that RAM while it is cold and put it on some other computer. You just have to place it on the motherboard. As soon as you turn the power back on, the USB drive will boot up, the OS will boot up, and what will happen? The whole state of the RAM will be preserved. Cool, right? What do you think? So when RAM was created for the first time, nobody would know that, is temperature pe RAM chalti hai ya us temperature pe RAM chalti hai. All they knew that RAM is just an electrical component, electronic component. It gets placed on motherboard. As soon as you turn off the supply, nothing will be there. It was found out in 2017 or 18 that this is also possible. This is known as a hardware attack. Okay. So whenever you think about cybersecurity, just don't, think of ethical hacking. Ethical hacking is cybersecurity. No, there is a lot in cybersecurity. This is cold boot attack, friends. Okay. So इसको पढ़ना एक बार. I've written it in a very simple and crisp language. If you like it, let me know. Okay. So this is what RAM does. RAM ka to sabko pata tha, right? Everyone knows what a RAM is, but I just wanted to tell you some cool facts about what you can do with a RAM. Okay. So yes, samajh aaya sabko? Yes or no? Okay, Tajendra, don't worry. I'll talk about that as well. Okay. So this is RAM. Now comes something without which your computer is not going to work. या इसके बिना चलते हैं? Or do computers work without this? So you have your CPU, you have your RAM, you have your other components, you have your ports as well. I'll just zoom this. You will have your ports as well, but they need to be kept on one single place, right? They need to be plugged to something. And that something is known as motherboard. So if you really want to be in IT, one thing that I will suggest you is, buy a cheap motherboard. Try to create a computer by yourself. That is the first hands-on experiment that you will perform. Don't ऐसा मत करना, ठीक है? Don't do it like this. Like you have a computer, start opening up the screws and खोल के बैठ गए, फिर कल को दुकान में जाना पड़ेगा, tomorrow you have to go to the shop and get it fixed. ऐसे मत करना, ठीक है? फालतू में पैसे वेस्ट करने की जरूरत नहीं है, because in A plus इसके बाद we are going to go with A plus, okay, from Monday. So in A plus we have labs, we have virtual labs through which we will do this. You don't actually have to, हम ये नहीं बोलेंगे भाई जाके 5,000 का ना या कोई 7-8 हज़ार का पुराना सा मदरबोर्ड ले आओ. No, no, no. You don't have to do that. Or you don't have to take your desktop's motherboard. No. वहाँ पे we'll do it through virtual labs. But if you really want to do each and everything, you know, hands on, खुद practice करना चाहते हो, then we encourage you to do that, but do it under the supervision of someone who does it for a living. जो रोज ये करते हैं उनकी हेल्प लेके करना. खुद से करोगे होता क्या कि have you guys ever assembled a computer? Anyone who has ever assembled their own computer? No, कोई भी नहीं. सब यहाँ पे लैपटॉप वाले हैं, सब लैपटॉप वाले हैं. ओके, नो वरीज, ठीक है. सो होता क्या था, सो दिस पोर्शन, ओके, दिस पोर्शन इज फॉर सीपीयू एंड यहाँ पे हमारी रैम लगती है जहाँ पे मेरा माउस पॉइंटर है. I'll show you through my pen here. Okay, this is for CPU. यहाँ रैम लगती है. When I did it for the first time, now those who have done it, now Sajid here says that he has done it. When you plug in the RAM, थोड़ा सा ना it is loose होती है. And I used to think, यार RAM लगी नहीं है. I used to think it's still not there. It's still not in the place. It's still not has been fixed. मैंने क्या किया? What did I do at that time? I pressed. Okay, I pressed. क्या हुआ? जो RAM की जो मेरी चिप थी, it broke in half. Okay, so तभी कह रहा हूँ, that is why I'm telling you, don't don't just experiment. हाँ, click sound आती है, तो वो मैंने तब देखी नहीं ना. the first time I did it, I thought यार sound तो आई है but अभी भी lose है. लूज आ रही है अभी भी. आई कैन टच इट, थोड़ा सा टच करूंगा तो वो हिल रही है. आई डिड नॉट पे अटेंशन. आई वाज मे बी इन 12th at that time, so I pressed it, ठीक है, and what happened, it broke. So तभी कह रहा हूँ, if you have to perform such experiments, do it under supervision. Or if you don't have supervision, there are millions of videos on YouTube which will show you how to assemble your computer, right? So the next time you have to upgrade your computer's RAM, obviously go ahead, get it done by a professional, but tell that professional, request that professional to so that you can be there and you can see what is happening. Okay, बहुत जरूरी है ये चीजें. Okay, because I'm not saying that after you complete the courses, after you complete CompTIA IT infrastructure, you will work as a technician. No, you don't have to work as a technician. You are working so hard, you don't have to work as a technician. But you should be knowing about some problems because you are going to be dealing with a computer. You have your own computer. What if a problem arises at the middle of the night and you have to complete a report? सुबह तुम्हारा एग्जाम है ऑनलाइन और तुम्हारा कंप्यूटर चलना बंद हो गया, right? So you should be knowing about this stuff. Okay, then let's talk about something which is my favorite component, ports. Because I teach CCNA, right? Because I teach CCNA as well, so I teach some of these ports. So guys, this is zoomed enough. Can you tell me about the ports here? कौन से ports हैं that you know about, or any other port which is not in here? बताते जाओ. Pick up a port, अपनी मर्जी का port पकड़ो and मुझे बताते जाओ. Tell me, what does that port do?
Hi, you are watching the recording from one of our live session. Hit like, share, and subscribe for more future updates.
COM port, VGA, AT, HDMI, RJ45, C-type port. C-type port is actually not here. I don't think C-type port is here in this diagram because this diagram is a little old, right? SATA port, SCSI port, right? There are a lot of ports here. Okay, everyone just participate and just don't write the name of the ports. Also write in the description what they do. I'll wait for your answers. I'll wait for your answers and then we'll talk about these ports one by one. Okay, come on, keep on going on. And also write a small description. Like जैसे आप लोगों ने बोला DVI port. DVI port का क्या काम है? और अगर ये SCSI port है, ये SCSI port क्या करता है? RS232 port क्या करेगा? Right? What is RJ45 going to do? ये सारी चीजें बताते जाओ मेरे को, ठीक है? I'll wait for your answers in the chat box. Okay, so let's start talking about all these ports and the ports that are mentioned here. इसमें से कुछ पुराने भी हैं. Some of them are really old. Okay. So if you deal with a port like PS2, it's not the gaming console PlayStation 2. It is actually used for keyboard and mouse. पुराने ports हैं ये. Right. The best one, जिसके बारे में सबको पता है, right, which is RJ45. RJ45. RJ45 is what? RJ45 is used for connecting. It is used for Ethernet connections, right? So जो हमारी cables होती हैं, we use that for connections. उसके लिए हम RJ45 ports use करते हैं, right? And let me see, Ankush, what you have written. Let me just see. So okay, let me go back to the, yes, Ankush, you're right. Okay, what else has not been mentioned here? One more thing, जो आजकल हमारे नए USB-C ports हैं, USB-C ports हैं हमारे, जिसमें हमारे पास एक बाहर आउटर कवरिंग होगी एंड अंदर एक हमारे पास कनेक्शन होगा. That is not mentioned here because the ports that have been given here are very very old. Okay, ये पुराने ports हैं, प्लस इनमें कुछ ऐसे भी हैं जो आजकल हम यूज करते हैं, right? Yes, because they are connected. They are connected to each other. Yes. So USB-C has not been given here. Everyone is now using USB-C. And one more thing about these ports, guys. One more thing about these ports. These ports are standard ports. These ports are standard ports. What do you mean by standard ports? ये standard का क्या मतलब है इनका? Okay, number one, you cannot change its functionality. Number one, you cannot change its functionality. They are actually built for the purpose. Okay, they are built for the purpose, and उसी purpose के लिए हमेशा use होंगे. I'll start writing that down. These ports are built for a specific purpose. प्लस यहाँ पे स्टैंडर्डाइजेशन का मतलब क्या है? स्टैंडर्डाइजेशन का मतलब है दैट दे विल बी यूनिवर्सल, दे विल बी यूज्ड परमानेंटली. व्हाट यूज्ड टू हैपन, सो अब इसके लिए मेरे को थोड़ा पीछे जाना पड़ेगा, पीछे लाइक टू 1970 व्हेन मोस्ट ऑफ अस वर नॉट इवन बोर्न. उस टाइम पे क्या हुआ था? कंप्यूटर नेटवर्किंग वाज न्यू. आई टोल्ड यू गाइस, राइट, इन 1970 और इन 1969 डार्पा इन्वेंटेड देयर ओन नेटवर्क for communication. That was the first ever computer network. ऐसे ऐसे करके, like just like DARPA, there were other agencies all over the world who started building their computer networks. Great. But what if someone had to communicate with a person who belonged to a different country? At that time, there were no universal standards. Got it? There were no universal standards. Since there were no universal standards, तो जो एक compatibility होती है ना, एक compatibility नहीं बैठती थी. So at that time, if anyone from China had to communicate with somebody from USA, they couldn't do it because there were no universal norms for networking. What came at that time जिसने सारी नेटवर्किंग को स्टैंडर्डाइज किया एंड यूनिफॉर्मिटी लाई? गाइस, डू यू रिमेंबर एनीथिंग लाइक दैट? एक मॉडल आया था 1970 में, 1970s में, not 1970, in 1970s a model was introduced that standardized everything. It was the OSI model. It was the OSI model by an organization named ISO. By an organization named ISO. Okay. ISO is an organization that deals with international standards. लोकल नहीं, मतलब ऐसे नहीं कि अपनी स्टेट में काम करेगा ये स्टैंडर्ड या कहीं और काम करेगा. These standards apply, or they apply worldwide. Okay. So since they apply to all the countries in the world, the model created by ISO was used as a reference model. लेयर्ड मॉडल था कि इस लेयर्ड मॉडल से हमारे पास सारी कम्युनिकेशन होना शुरू हुई. ओके. आफ्टर दैट DOD, USDOD था, यूनाइटेड स्टेट्स डिपार्टमेंट ऑफ डिफेंस. उन्होंने भी अपना एक मॉडल निकाला which was USDOD model, which was a spin-off of OSI model. So OSI model बहुत बड़ा था, 7 layers थी उसमें. So they had to modify it. And they created a model called DOD model, USA, United States Department of Defense Communication Model, which was further modified to what we use today, TCP/IP. So TCP/IP model that we use today for network-based communication, these are the models, OSI models and TCP/IP models that everyone needs to know. ठीक है ना? हर किसी को ये मॉडल्स पता होने चाहिए if you want to make your career as a network engineer or as a cloud engineer. Ankush, I'm not really sure about the year. It was late 1970s. I'm not really sure about the year. So मेरे हिसाब से it was late 1970s में था. No, I don't remember the exact year. Okay. अब ये सारी चीजें तो आ गई, बट फिर भी ना एक चीज की प्रॉब्लम थी हमारे पास उस टाइम पे. उन्होंने बताया राउटर, स्विच, हब, पोर्ट्स, क्या क्या चीजें होती हैं, बट देयर वाज वन प्रॉब्लम दैट वाज नॉट सॉल्व्ड. वो थी पोर्ट्स की प्रॉब्लम्स. That was a problem related to ports. Now you guys must remember, in the older days, I'm not talking about the days of smart TVs, I'm talking about older TVs. I'm talking about the 2000 to 2010. Okay, उस decade की बात करें, I'm talking about that decade. For TV we had different formats. NTSC, PAL, पता है किसी को? Different formats आते थे हमारे TVs में. ये कंट्री वाइज उन्होंने बनाए हुए थे, NTSC and PAL. And if you ever bought a PlayStation from maybe some other country, right? If you got a gaming console from some other country which used to support maybe NTSC, then running it in India would be a little problematic. उसके लिए हमें एक cheat code apply करना पड़ता था. उसके लिए there were a set of keys that you needed to press on your TV remote. उसके बाद you could convert it. Okay, you could unlock all the capabilities of your TV. Similarly, जब computers आए, when communication started happening, even at that time, what used to happen, ports were not standardized. ठीक है? So there was a model at that time. It was created by an organization called IEEE. IEEE सबने सुना होगा. IEEE is a major research body in academia as well. IEEE. If you guys are in engineering college, तो आपके जो final year projects होते हैं उसमें आपको research articles लिखने होते हैं, उसके लिए बोलते हैं कि IEEE format use करो. So IEEE is Institute of Electrical Engineers, something like that. They created a project called 802 project. They created a project called 802 project. Okay. And from this IEEE 802 project, something came out which is Ethernet. हम Ethernet की बात करते हैं ना, Ethernet cable, right or wrong? We talk about Ethernet cable. We talk about कौन सी cables होती हैं? Fiber optic cables. We talk about coaxial cables. They are standardized all over the world. ऐसा नहीं है कि जो हम इंडिया में यूज करते हैं वो यूएस में नहीं चलेगी. They are used worldwide because of this standard, which is the Ethernet. So Ethernet is a complete standard actually. And what you guys see on your screen, ये जो RJ45 है और ये जो RJ11 है, they were actually created from this IEEE 802 project. So I've seen a lot of people in my CCNA classes. They argue with me. They say that OSI model is the best or TCP/IP model is the best. But do you guys know which one is the best? If you really have to understand the basics of CCNA and if you really have to understand the basics of switching. कल मैंने बात की थी ना switching के बारे में. How communication happens within a network. की थी कि नहीं? की थी ना? So जो हमारे पास the protocols that we use. Do you guys know कि अगर हमारे पास IEEE 802 प्रोजेक्ट नहीं होता, इफ इट डिड नॉट हैव IEEE 802 प्रोजेक्ट, ये था क्या? एक बहुत बड़ा प्रोजेक्ट था. इसमें हमारे पास नए स्टैंडर्ड्स एंड प्रोटोकॉल सामने आए थे. सो बिकॉज ऑफ दिस प्रोजेक्ट वी नाउ हैव वाईफाई, वी नाउ हैव ब्लूटूथ. वाईफाई इज टेक्निकल acronym is 802.11. पता होगा आप लोगों को. If not, Google it. Google this. What is 802.11? 802.11 is your Wi-Fi. Where did it come from? It came from IEEE. So इसमें से जो मैक्सिमम आप पोर्ट्स देख रहे हो ना यहाँ पे RJ45, ये कहाँ से निकल के आए हैं? They have been created from IEEE 802. And other ports जैसे we have here SCSI. We have SCSI. Guys, do you know what SCSI is? Any idea about SCSI? So SCSI pins होते हैं यहाँ पे. SCSI pins are used by storage protocols. उनका भी नाम SCSI होता है और they are now called as ISCSI. SCSI का मतलब है Small Computer Systems Interface. अभी आपको लग रहा होगा कि if I don't have this on my laptop, if I don't have this SCSI pin on my laptop, I don't need to study it. You guys are just aware of क्या? आपको अपने कंप्यूटर के बारे में क्या क्या पता है? USB-C, earphone jack, USB 3.0 and the power cable, right? And the जो power का connection है आपका. But when you guys study virtualization, कहाँ पे आएगी virtualization? Let me show you. चलते जाओ ऊपर. Right now we are on 11th page. Guys, when we cover server plus, and when we cover virtualization, जिसकी वजह से आज हमारे पास cloud है, the sole reason, yeah, Chandra, you will get this, okay? The sole reason why you have cloud today with you is because of virtualization of servers. So virtualization में we virtualize everything. I'll just show you, in a few minutes कैसे virtualization होती है. I'll just show you in a few minutes. Virtualization हर किसी चीज की होती है. Of your RAM, of your CPU, of your networks, of your storage. So for storage virtualization, SCSI is a very important protocol. Okay. So guys, you will get this photograph, you will get this PDF for revision, but I also encourage you to take a screenshot. अगर आज आपको ये PDF नहीं मिलती, if you don't get this PDF today, you take the screenshot. Why am I telling you to take a screenshot? Because do you guys know कि कल मैं सिर्फ क्लास नहीं खत्म करने वाला हूँ IT फंडामेंटल्स की. There will also be a small test. There will also be a small test, right? उसके बाद आपको आपका सर्टिफिकेट मिलेगा. ठीक है. So कल पढ़ के आना, इसलिए बोल रहा हूँ. You guys have to come prepared tomorrow because there will be a small test tomorrow. Okay. ठीक है. So अब हम बात कर ही रहे थे ports की. We were talking about ports, motherboard, RAM, CPU. So the next topic that I'm going to discuss is storage. But storage se pehle, before I talk about storage, yes, Ravi, I'll give the notes. Don't worry. So before I talk about storage, everyone, I will first talk about data and how data is stored in different types of formats. Then we will talk about storage devices. क्या हमारे पास SSD है, क्या हमारे पास HDD है, ठीक है ना? फिर तब हम बात करेंगे. So before we start talking about that, I need to talk about data and data formats. So what is data? What is data? ये तो सबको पता ही है. What is data? Everyone knows about this term. What is data, everyone? Yes, come on, everyone. I want you to answer. It's information, meaningful information, right? Or just information which could be raw in nature, which cannot be directly understood by us humans, or it could be, processed, which can be understood by us, right? Yes or no? Data comes in two formats, or it has two natures, right? Raw, which cannot be understood by us, and processed, which can be understood by us. So if you guys know that this one particular term has a complete industry associated with it, which is data science, right? इस एक टर्म के साथ आज एक पूरी इंडस्ट्री जुड़ी हुई है. Why? Because everyone in this world, has a computing device, while input is being converted into output. Data is created, data is destroyed, data is generated. Data is always going to be there. In the earlier days, I'm just talking about 6 to 7 years back, we used to have data being generated from computers, mobile phones, tablets, laptops, etc. Now we have what? We have IoT. We have IoT, Internet of Things. We have smart TVs. We have Amazon Echo. We have Google Home. What else do we have? We have so many small smart devices like smart coffee maker or smart rice cooker, right? They also generate data. Now, how do we use that data and make sense out of it? How do we make it meaningful? How do we make it meaningful? There's a whole industry associated with that, which is data science. So, हम data scientists नहीं हैं. We are not data scientists. We are IT engineers. So, we need to understand how data is stored, how data is sent, how data is managed, right? हमें प्रोसेसिंग की टेंशन नहीं लेनी है. प्रोसेसिंग की टेंशन लेंगे डेटा साइंटिस्ट्स. So first of all, To understand how data is stored, we need to understand what are the different types of data formats. Okay. A computer understands data in form of what? A computer understands data in form of what? Your machine understands data in form of zeros and ones. Yesterday, when I was showing you guys assembly language, how assembly language works, उस time पे what kind of data format was there? Yesterday, when I was showing you how assembly language works, what kind of data format was there? Anyone? It was hexadecimal. If anyone has forgotten, let me show you again. Let me show you again. It will be fun. I don't have to do much. I just have to fire one command. Just need to fire one command. I'll show you what I need to do. Okay. So what I've done here is I've actually opened up this command, which is ls. ls is a command on Linux which helps me look at the contents of a folder. अब जैसे folder के अंदर files होती हैं, there are files present in folder. If you want to see the same via terminal, via command line interface, how do you do that? There is a command called ls. So ls is a command on Linux, right? So if you open it up, Bikramjit, if you open it up, because it's an executable. So when we are opening it up, we are able to see its assembly language code. Okay, the language that your processors speak, the language that your processors speak. So this right here is a 64-bit executable. अब ये एक 64-bit executable है. मैंने कल आपको बताया था how and why. So I'll show you again. These are registers, these are commands, these are operations. Okay, these are operations यहाँ पे, and these are registers. So these registers have R associated with them. So जहाँ पे भी R होगा starting में किसी भी register में, it will mean that it is a 64-bit register. Now this format maps to something here, and this is what, my friends, this is hexadecimal. This is what? This is hexadecimal. So अभी तक हमें दो forms के बारे में पता है, which is binary, hexadecimal, and what else? What else? There is one more format which we humans understand and which helps us in conversion of binary to hexadecimal. कौन सा format है वो? That's decimal, right? So decimal कैसे चलता है? Yeah, this is hexadecimal. That is what I'm talking about, Bikramji. This is hexadecimal. Okay. Now I'll show you decimal. So decimal is something that we guys understand. Okay, we as humans can understand. So what is there inside decimal? Decimal में हमारे पास होता है 0 से 9. उसके बाद आगे जाना है तो बनाओ. Like if you have to create 11, बन जाएगा. If you have to create 157, you can create out of it. But what are the most common numbers that you require? What are the most significant numbers that are required in decimal? 0 to 9. Because any number in this world can be created using a combination of 0 to 9. Okay. So guys, whenever we store data, अब जैसे हम whenever we go ahead and buy and purchase hard disks, so we ask the seller how much storage does it offer, right? And they'll tell you 2 TB. What is 2 TB? 2 terabyte. Okay. So byte पढ़ने से पहले we need to know about decimal, hexadecimal and binary. So what I'll do here is I'll write decimal, I write binary, and I write hexadecimal. So what do we have to do? We just have to perform a very simple mapping. Mapping क्या होती है? जो वैल्यू डेसिमल में आ रही है वही सेम वैल्यू हमें बतानी है बाइनरी में, एंड वही सेम वैल्यू हमें बतानी है हेक्साडेसिमल में. दैट इज व्हाट वी नीड टू डू. वी नीड टू क्रिएट अ मैपिंग हियर. ओके, सो decimal 0 is what in binary, guys? 0. What about 1? What about hexadecimal? Hexadecimal maybe it will be 0 and 1, right? 2, what will be 2? Okay, write like this. Okay, write like this in the chat box. When I say decimal in 2, you will write B. B for binary. B equals to the value, your answer, and your answer in hexadecimal. So write B and H. Okay. So what will I write here? I'll write. Yeah, sure. Vikramjit, you want to take a note? You go ahead and take it. Okay. So I'll write it down in a better manner. And don't worry, you will get the video. Okay, Vikramjit, don't worry at all. You'll get the video. So I write decimal, binary, and hexadecimal. So 0 in decimal is 0 in binary and 0 in hexadecimal. 1 in decimal is 1 in binary and 1 in hexadecimal. Okay. 2 is going to be 1, 0, and here it is going to be 2. 3 is going to be what? 3 is going to be, what will be the value here? 1, 1. Is this the right value or no? And here it will be 3. When I go to 4 decimal, what will be the binary value for that? 1, 0, 0. For hexadecimal, it will be 4. 5, 1, 0, 1, and 5. 6, what will be for 6? 1, 1, 0, and then 6. Let's do it for 7 to others. Okay, 7 for further values here. 7 tells further values. So I'll again write decimal, binary, hexadecimal. So we have 7. 7 is going to be 1, 1, 1. Hexa, it's going to be 7. 8, what will be 8 now? It will be 1, 0, 0, 0, and it will be 8. 9, it will be this and 9. Now when you write 10, you can create a binary mapping out of it. It will be 8, 0, 0, right? This will be 10. But there will be a change in hexadecimal. In hexadecimal, this will now become A. So 10 in decimal is 1010 in binary and A in hexadecimal. So hexadecimal is a format which is similar to decimal till 0 to 9. After that, it will go from A to F.
Hi, you are watching the recording from one of our live session. Hit like, share, and subscribe for more future updates.
So there is a reason why you call it hexadecimal. Hexa means 16. So 0 till 9 is 0 till 9 is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, that's 10. A till F is how much? A, B, C, D, E, F. 10 plus 6. This total combination comes out to be 16. I'll show you, Bikramji. Don't worry. Anyone who has any doubt here, I'll just clear it for all of you. Okay. When you do 11, it will become this, 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 and this. This is going to be 11. This is B. 12, it will be 1100. Right, guys, or no? Am I doing this right or am I doing this wrong? C. Then you have 13. 13 is what in binary? You will have D. Then you have 14. 14 will be, and this will be E. And for the last value, D, B, H, 15, F, 1111. So this is the mapping of decimal to binary to hexadecimal. If you want to go ahead, you can do that. But this is something that you need to remember. Okay. Now, a lot of you might have, questions regarding how I was able to, perform decimal to binary conversions without remembering. I practiced it a lot. So what happens? Okay, Bikramjeet, brother, look at this carefully. Now, whenever you have to perform calculations of, converting a decimal number into binary number, okay, this is what you need to do. You write it like this: 2 raised to power 0, 2 raised to power 1, 2 raised to power 2, 2 raised to power 3. What will be the value here? This will be 1, this will be 2, this will be 4, this will be 8. Okay. Now, Bikramjeet, give me a number. Give me a number from 0 to 15. Yes, Bikram. Can you give me a number? Anyone, can you give me a number between 0 to 15? I'll write down its binary value. 14. Okay, so first I'll do it for 14. How do you write 14? You just take it, you have to take that combination which will make that value. You have to take that combination which will make that value. So for 14, what will you do? 8 plus 4 is 12. 12 plus 2 is 14. So your number will be 1110. Okay, it will be 1110. For 9, if I have to do it for 9, what will I do? 8 plus 4 is 12. So no. 8 plus 2 is 10. No. So what will it be? 1100. So 9 will be 1001. For 13, what do I need to do? 8 plus 2 plus 1, because no. 8 plus 4 plus 1. 8 plus 4 is 12. 12 plus 1 is 1. So the values which are being selected to make that combination, you will write 1 against them. And for the other values which are not being used, you will write 0. Okay. So 1101. Right now, I'm just giving you an overview. Guys and girls, I'm just giving you an overview how these formats work. And what are these formats? Okay. So if we have to sum this up, so decimal is 0 to 9. Hexadecimal is 0 to 9, and then A to F, right? After that, you have binary, which is just zeros and ones. So for today's class and today's session for IT fundamentals, you just have to remember this. You don't have to remember their conversions. Their conversions will be discussed in extreme detail in Network Plus, because at that time, we will be dealing with MAC addresses. Those are known as device addresses. They are written down in hexadecimal. We will be dealing with IPv6 addresses. They are written in hexadecimal. Then we'll also talk about IP addresses which are written in binary and in decimal. Okay. So guys, will you now forget what are these type of formats? Are you guys now aware of these three main formats in computing? Decimal, hexadecimal, and binary. There is one more format called octal, but you don't really use it a lot. Okay. Now, why did I teach you binary, hexa, and decimal here? Because we are going to talk about storage. What are we going to talk about today? We are going to talk about storage. So when we talk about storage formats, we are referring to persistent storage. What is persistent storage, guys? Right now I'm talking about persistent storage. We dealt with RAM. We talked about RAM already. Right now I'm talking about persistent storage. What is persistent storage? Permanent storage, where even after you shut down your computer, your file will be there. So yes, ROM. Okay, it's similar to ROM. Now, whenever you have to buy a permanent storage device, maybe an internal or an external, because you guys know that your permanent storage will be either your hard disk, which is HDD, hard disk drive, or your solid state drive, SSD. Computers these days come with SSD. Okay, computers these days come with SSD. When you have to go and buy them, if the seller gives you 5 HDDs, how will you choose among them? Obviously cost is a factor, but your goal is to buy that storage device which is offering you what? Which is offering you maximum storage, maximum room for your data, maximum space for your data. So when you go out and buy a hard drive or an SSD, what can you do there? What can you do at that time? You need to understand how data is stored here. How data is stored here. So there the data is stored in form of bytes. Okay. Where did bytes come from? Where did bytes come from? Bytes came from bit. What is bit? Bit is either 0 or it is 1. 8 bits is 1 byte. 1024 bytes is 1 kilobyte. 1024, Vijay. Okay. 1024 kilobytes is 1 megabyte. 1024 megabytes is 1 GB. And 1024 GB is 1 TB. The data formats that we use when we are going out and purchasing computers, and we want to have maximum storage space for them, so we look for spaces in either GB or TB. For our RAM, we usually deal with RAM size in GB. Got it, everyone? That is why I had to explain bits and bytes. Okay, so now what we will do, we will look at some storage formats and storage devices. Could be internal, could be external, could be virtual. Okay, could be virtual. So this is the portion which I'm really excited for today. So just give me a minute, and what I'll do here is, this is mass storage. Okay, so we talked about RAM. Now we are talking about systems, hard drives, SSDs, USB drives, and virtual storage. I'll show you how virtual storage is used. Okay, so let me connect my phone and I'll actually show you the two drives that I have. I'll actually show you the two drives that I have. And if possible, I'll try to open my external hard drive for you. So just give me 1 minute. I'll switch on the lights so that you guys can see it properly. Okay, so let me just connect it to my Mac, not Linux. Okay, and now what I'll do is I will actually take you to, wait a second, I need to open QuickTime Player. I'll go ahead with file, new movie recording. Okay, and I will show you my phone. Okay, so can everyone see the screen on my phone? Is it visible to all of you? Is everyone able to view the screen? Okay. So this right here is my external Seagate HDD. Okay. I am trying to zoom in as much as possible. Can you guys see the storage here? It's 4 TB. Is everyone able to see it? Yeah. So this storage drive is external. Okay. It is external storage drive. It's good. It's expensive. But the problem with it is, even though it is 4 TB, the time taken to, transfer data from one place to another, it takes a lot of time. Why? Because if I open it up, I won't open it up, otherwise I will damage it. It has a tape inside it, a rotating, tape inside it, a disk, which works, and it has to actually find out where data is stored. Okay, so it works like this. So I'll show you how it is. So this is, I can actually, this is actually covered. I just wanted to open it up for you. So this is a HDD. Let me show you one more hard drive that I have with me. Now, can you see this one? This one. This one is also a HDD, but there is something special about this HDD. Okay, and what is that? It has two ports here. Can you see this? It has two ports here. One is for power supply. Can you see this, guys and girls? Is it visible? Is my screen visible? Okay. So one is for power supply. The other one is for, this one right here is for USB. Okay. And if you see here, the port is a little different. It is not like USB 2.0. It is USB 3.0. It has two ports here. Okay. So this is USB 3.0. And what else is there in this hard drive? This is an HDD, not an SSD. It comes with a power adapter. Okay. Now, most of you must have seen such hard drives coming with power adapters. It's external. But most of you wouldn't haven't, you would have never seen an HDD with a power supply. Now, why does it come with a power supply? Because this hard drive is very, very special. Now, why special? Because it can actually connect to all my devices wirelessly. Isn't that cool? So this is basically a NAS device, network attached storage. Have you guys heard of that? Have you guys heard of NAS? Okay. So this is something that I taught just a few days ago. I was, the trainer or the instructor for virtualization, VMware virtualization technology associate. So at that time I was teaching SAN and NAS. So NAS is network attached, not attacked. I sorry, my handwriting is too poor. Network attached storage. Now what will happen here is this hard drive will be connected to my network. This hard drive will be connected to my network via Wi-Fi. This is my hard drive in the network, and my smart TV can access it. So if I have photos on my hard drive, I can transfer those photos wirelessly. Wirelessly, guys, not in a wired manner, wirelessly. If I want to send something to my MacBook, I can do that wirelessly. If I have to send something to my iPhone, I can do that again wirelessly. So here the problem of physically connecting to each and every device, that disappears. You know why? Let me tell you one thing. I am a big fan of hard drives. I'm a big fan of TV series. I'm a big fan of कंप्यूटर साइंस कोर्सेज. सो मैं डाउनलोड करता रहता हूँ बहुत सारे कोर्सेज, बहुत सारी मूवीज, बहुत सारा म्यूजिक. होता क्या था, you guys must have done that as well. When you connect a hard drive and when you have to unplug it, you get an option. What is that option? Safely remove hard drive, right? आता है ना option. You get an option there. Yes or no? But do you do it? Does anyone do it? Rarely, right? Most of us do it rarely. But we do not know what happens, what kind of problems can happen if we just unplug it without ejecting it. It can actually lead to creation of or formation of some errors in the sector of the hard drive. So ye jo maine aapko, when I was showing you that hard drive, inside that hard drive there are sectors. Okay, there are sectors jo rotate karte hain, right? They rotate. So what can happen is it can lead to formation of bad sectors in every partition. That will increase wear and tear. That will increase wear and tear of your hard drive. Okay, and that will lead to death of your hard drive very, very soon. So guys, make sure the next time you even eject your pen drive, I know it's just 16 GB or 64 GB. You just paid 500 these days is nothing. But why waste the money? When you have that option, there is a specific reason for that option. Eject, carefully, or eject without any problem. Do that. So these are HDDs. HDDs are cheaper. HDDs, like the one that I showed you, the blue one that I showed you, it is 4 TB. The black one that I showed you, it's around 9 TB. Okay. No, I guess it's 9 or 5. I'm not really sure. I haven't really used it in a long time. So, and plus I got them for very, very cheap. The blue one that I have, I got it for 2000 rupees. The black one that I have, the one with the power supply, got it for 8000 rupees 4 years back. These days we use SSDs. What we use? We use SSDs, solid state drives. These are fast. You know why? Because inside a solid state drive, there are no moving components. There are no moving components. In your hard drive, in your external hard drive, which is HDD, hard disk drive, there are tapes, there are components, and there is a spindle, there is a rotating, disk. So if you have to get data from one particular location, that spindle will move and then it will tell you where that data is. You must have seen, like, when your computer gets old, the hard drive makes noise whenever you are transferring data. Has that ever occurred to you? So it means that the hard drive has gone through a lot of wear and tear. But if you use SSD, there are no moving components. Speed is lightning fast. Speed is fast, very, very fast. If you are, transferring a game using your external SSD to your computer, it just gets transferred within minutes. These days, all the gaming computers, all the MacBooks especially, they come with SSDs. On my Mac, I have an SSD of, wait, where did my, yeah, I have an SSD of 128 GB, 128 GB. 7 GB is being used by the operating system, so 121 is left for me. And as you can see, I have, minimal space left, 14 GB. So I have actually a lot of virtual machines running on my uh, Mac OS. I have a lot of developer apps running on my operating system. So I'm not wasting my space. I'm utilizing it very carefully. And you guys are aware of SSD. You guys are aware of HDD. What else comes to your rescue when your device has less storage? What else comes to your rescue, guys and girls? What else do you need? If you don't have enough space on your mobile phone or on your laptop, what will you do? You will store your data somewhere else. You will store your data somewhere else, which is either on an external drive. Okay, but what do you use? You use cloud. You use cloud storage. Okay, cloud storage is going to help you in that case. Okay, so cloud storage is going to help you out in that case. Like for me, a guy who has only 128 GB on his computer. Yeah, yes, so Matayo, you can obviously store it on an external storage. So I just gave some examples of external as well as internal. Now I'm talking about cloud, right? Okay, brother. So now what we can do is we can obviously back our stuff, or we can keep our essential data on cloud as well, right? Like I have iCloud subscription. This is These are the folders for my iCloud. If I don't want to save anything on my device, I can just keep it on my iCloud drive. And you guys must be thinking iCloud is expensive. No, it just costs me 75 rupees a month for 50 GB. And if I have to add 200 GB more, then I'll have to pay around 219 rupees. Okay. So these days cloud is a very great option. And also, like, you must have seen your friends who go and buy iPhones. What is their first choice? To buy the iPhone with the maximum storage. However, when I have to buy a phone, I buy a phone with the least storage, because I know how to manage my data carefully. That is why I buy a cloud subscription. Like these days for Android, you can buy a Google Drive's subscription. So with that, you can easily extend storage. You can easily keep your data without losing it. Okay, without losing it. What if some damage happens to your computer? Your data is lost, right? But nothing is going to touch your cloud unless and until you have really weak username and password and somebody hacks you, right? So that is something that can happen. After this, what else you can do? You have the power of virtualization. You have the power of virtualization. So basically, cloud storage that you get, Google Drive or iCloud or Mega Drive or Dropbox or anything that you use, it actually comes from virtualization. Okay. Now, what is virtualization? Virtualization means that you take your hardware components. If you have one CPU, you create or you virtualize it, which means if you have one CPU, i7 with 16 cores, what will you do in this case? You will divide it into virtual components. You will divide it into virtual CPUs. So vCPU 1 core, vCPU 2 cores, vCPU 4 cores, according to your needs. And what you can do, you can run operating system on top of operating systems. Okay. This is done by tools like VirtualBox. This is done by tools like VMware Fusion. Are you guys aware of that? You guys must be knowing about that, right? Yes or no? Is there any problem till this point, guys and girls? No, sure. Everyone. I can't, name. I can. I cannot call out everyone's name, so I'm just going to ask you collectively. Is everyone? Is it clear to this point? Okay. But do you guys know what happens inside something that is known as a data center? You guys must have heard of data centers. Big locations, big machines, big, I mean, huge servers. What happens there? So you have servers, you have big servers costing 2 lakh INR or like 5,000 USD. This is going to be a server. It costed you around 2 lakh rupees. So do you run just one operating system on this? Do you run just one operating system on this machine costing around 2 to 5 lakhs? A server having 128 GB of RAM, CPU i9, 32 cores. If you are running just Windows on it, if you are running just Windows on it, and you are just working with Microsoft Word, are you not wasting your computer resources? Yes, Janita, I'll talk about that. Don't worry. Are you not wasting your resources, guys? You have 128 GB of RAM. You could play games. You could, do a lot of stuff here. You could do a lot of stuff on such an expensive server. Now, I know most of you are unable to understand this, so I'll just show you how super powerful a server is. I'll just show you. So if I go here and I write, this is Dell PowerEdge R640 rack server. Okay, let's do one thing. Let's build it up. Let's build it up or view its tech specs. Do you want to see what is there on this server? It has two CPUs, okay, two Intel Xeon CPUs. So we as individual users know about i5, i3, i5, i7, i9. You know what organizations use? They use Intel Xeon. Per processor, it has 28 cores. How many cores? 28. In total, you have 56 cores. You have 24 slots for RAM. 24 slots for RAM. You are practically unstoppable. आपको यहाँ पे कोई बीट ही नहीं कर सकता. आपके पास इतने रैम के स्लॉट्स हैं एंड इसमें आराम से रैम डाल सकते हो. इज इट अंडरस्टूड? उसके बाद आपके पास 4 इंटरफेस है नेटवर्क्स के लिए. यू कैन यूज, you know for network connection, you have 4 options here, 4 ports. You have security based options here. Imagine what a waste of this machine would be if you are running what? If you are running what? If you're running Microsoft Windows, and on top of that, if you're playing backgammon, or if you're running Microsoft Word, that's a waste of this machine. So these machines do not come with Mac OS or Windows or Linux. They come with a different software or an operating system, which is VMware ESXi. समझ आ रहा है सबको? Is everyone able to understand this? Amatayo, are you able to understand what I'm talking about? Is everyone able to understand what I'm talking about? सबको समझ आ रहा है? So this is what happens in industries, in big locations in big infrastructures called data centers. Okay. On my personal laptop, I have installed this ESXi. Okay. I just want to show you how servers work. Okay. So on a server, what will you install, guys and girls? On a physical server as big as this, you will install something known as this, which is known as hypervisor.
Hi, you are watching the recording from one of our live session. Hit like, share, and subscribe for more future updates.
Okay. I'll show it to you. So what is this? This is a hypervisor. Hypervisor is a software through which you can run multiple operating systems on one machine. Okay. You buy a server, you buy a very powerful server, you can run as many, you know, applications, as many web servers, as many download servers, as many email servers as you want on that one powerful machine using a software called as a hypervisor. Okay. This is a software. This is an operating system in itself. How do you access it? I have installed it on my computer. If I have to access it, I can access it through my web browser. What will I do here? I'll go here. I'll go to my browser. I'll write this IP address. So guys and girls, when I connect to this server, what is going to happen here? I can install as many operating systems on them. Okay. Now, for those operating systems, there will be no dedicated hard drive. कोई उनकी अपनी hard drive नहीं होगी, right? Are you understanding? There will be no dedicated hard drives for those virtual machines or those operating systems. वो कहाँ से उठाएंगे space? How will they take that storage? How will they get their own hard drive or their solid state drive? Via this software from this hardware. So what I can do, and I'm sorry, what's your, how do I pronounce your name? I hope I'm not pronouncing your name wrong. It's Janita. Okay. So what you can do is on your device itself, on your Janita, right? Cool. Okay. So on your device itself, that Dell hardware server, you can either have storage on it. You can have 20 TB of storage. You can have 100 TB of storage, and that storage will appear here, and it will be known as a data store. Okay. You can access it and you can provide storage to individual machines. So मैं क्या कह रहा हूँ सबको, कह रहा हूँ कि आपके जो सर्वर की स्टोरेज होगी वो यहाँ पे आपको अपीयर होगी इन अ लॉजिकल फॉर्मेट, एक सॉफ्टवेयर की तरीके से. ओके. सो क्या होगा वहां पे? वहां से आप अपनी जो आपने नए ऑपरेटिंग सिस्टम्स इंस्टॉल किए हैं उनको आप स्टोरेज प्रोवाइड कर सकते हो. सो साजिद, आई एम जस्ट गिविंग एग्जांपल ऑफ स्टोरेज, किस तरीके से आपके पास स्टोरेज होती है. ठीक है. सो ये सिर्फ एक एग्जांपल है, ये थोड़ी एडिशनल चीजें बता रहा हूं मैं साजिद, बिकॉज आईटी फंडामेंटल्स, most of you know about the basic stuff, but I want to show you what else is possible in IT. Okay. So this is what you can do, and this is virtual storage, guys and girls. And then यहाँ पे भी, if you do not want to, buy, or you do not want to make your hardware expensive when you are purchasing it, then you can skip the storage on it. आप उसमें hard drive मत लगाइए. You do not add a hard drive or a solid state drive. You can connect that hardware server to a completely different storage unit, which you can access through a network, which will be known as NAS, network attached storage. Okay. So this is what NAS will be. So did you guys understand what kind of storage formats are possible in IT? Is it understood? Yes or no? So storage mein you have HDD, you have SSD, you have what? You have NAS. Now NAS could also be an HDD or an SSD. NAS just means that network attached storage, which you do not have to connect, physically to your machines, Vishal. Okay. Then what else do you have? You have cloud. What else do you have? You have on your servers, on your big data, inside your big data centers, what can you do, guys and girls? You can virtualize your storage as well. Okay. So that it can appear as single unit to a operating system that you install. Samajh aaya? Is everyone clear about storage? So I just wanted to start from the basics, but I also wanted to show you what possibilities are there. Yes, Amatayo, you can definitely do that. But it will be known as virtual storage, right? It will be known as virtual storage. For example, if I go here on my VMware Fusion, that is basically a software that is used for running operating systems virtually. Okay. So I have Kali Linux here, and if I go here and I'll click on its settings, then the storage present here is 80 GB. The storage that I have provided to it is 80 GB. The CPU cores that have been given to it are 4 processor cores. The RAM that I provided here is 2 GB, 2048 MB. This is not real, this is virtual. As soon as I delete this virtual machine, as soon as I delete this operating system, it won't mean that these will be erased. My RAM will be erased, my processor cores will be deleted, because these are hardware components. So these will stay there on my operating system, on my laptop. It's just that I have leased a portion of my memory, I've leased a portion of my CPU, and I've leased a portion of my storage to these machines. Got it, Amatayo? सबको समझ आया मैंने क्या बोला? So मैंने बोला कि ये मैंने क्या किया है, इन मशीन्स को रन करने के लिए मैं क्या कर रहा हूँ यहाँ पे, मैं सिर्फ अपनी असली हार्डवेयर कंपोनेंट्स को ले रहा हूँ एंड उनको छोटे छोटे बाइफर्केशंस में तोड़ के उनको लीज में को दे रहा हूँ, लीज पे दे रहा हूँ या रेंट पे दे रहा हूँ, किनको? इन ऑपरेटिंग सिस्टम्स को. इज दैट क्लियर टू एवरीवन? यस और नो? Anyone who has any doubt at all? Clear? You don't require that, Bikramjit, right now. That will be discussed in Linux Plus. Okay, that will be discussed in Linux Plus, the course. So did you guys also understand this? How we can have a virtual data store? Yes, NAS will be an external drive which can be accessed via network. Via network. Okay. Okay. So Janita, I will also tell you about SAN, but it will be too advanced for everyone else. But don't worry, I'll also tell you about SAN maybe tomorrow after the session, or you can just give a call to the networking support team and they can connect you to me. Okay. So then comes what everyone likes. Okay, then comes what everyone likes, which is operating system. And before we talk about operating system, guys, I just want to ask, the additional information that I'm giving you, is it really useful for you, or should I just stick to the very basics key, like what is operating system, what is RAM, and should I teach you like kids? Because if I just stick with IT fundamentals, just the IT fundamentals, then at that time I would be teaching you what is a mobile phone, how do you set up a mobile phone, how do you turn on a laptop, or do you want this extra knowledge as well? So yes, everyone, can you tell me, are you understanding what I'm telling you? Are you able to relate to what I'm telling you, what I'm teaching you? Yes, yes, Narendra, go ahead. Sure. Okay. I hope I'm not, you know, trying to. Yeah, sure, sure, Amatayo. I hope you guys are not getting bored. You guys are, looking at new stuff. Yes, Aisha. Is it clear to all of you? I hope you're liking whatever is being taught. Otherwise, what would be there in today's class? What would be there in today's class? How to clean your laptop. That is also in IT fundamentals. Do you want that knowledge? You guys can clean your laptop. Or do you want me to show you? No, right? I wanted you guys to have some additional knowledge. Okay. Now, Amatayo, obviously, this is IT fundamentals. This is just me giving you overview of what is possible in IT. So, since did you attend yesterday's session? So at that time, we are just discussing what is there in IT. And that is what is covered in IT fundamentals. And we are going to deep dive into all these concepts in our further courses. A plus. So yeah, so please, after this class, you, Janata, everyone who didn't watch yesterday's video, please watch yesterday's video as well. Because in the very beginning of the class, I discussed about what? I discussed about what is there in IT infrastructure. Okay. So coming to operating system, it's there on YouTube. It's there on YouTube, Amatayo. It's right there on Networking's channel. Okay. Yes, Narendra, don't worry. I'll talk about that as well. Okay. So let's talk about OS. What is OS? What is an OS? Don't say Mac OS, don't say Windows, don't say Android, don't say iOS. Try to be technical because this is our second day and the level is getting higher. The level is getting higher. What is an OS, guys? Yes, Narendra, tell me more. Like, I know operating system. That is not what I want to hear. This is day two. We are, trying to advance. So tell me, yes, operating system is going to be managing, yes, computer hardware. It's going to help us interact with the hardware, right? It is going to be that bridge in between. Yes. Okay. Now, what is NOS? So it's like an interface between the user and the computer itself. I'm not talking about the capabilities of computer. I'm talking about the hardware itself. How do you interact with your computer? You are able to do that via something which is known as operating system. Operating system is a software, okay, which helps you do whatever you want. Like you want to, you actually want to use something, right? You want to use something. You have to access an application. You have to make a presentation on PowerPoint, or you have to write a report on Microsoft Word, or you have to use Chrome to, access the web, or you need to use Zoom to access the video meeting or today's session. How will you do that? You require something which is an interface. Now, Bikramjit, interface in a very simple language means something that you are going to use. It's going to be a middleman, okay, through which you are going to communicate with an entity. In our case, that entity is a computer. Okay. Computer understands what? Computer understands zeros and ones. We do not understand zeros and ones. So this bridge in between, known as OS, is going to help us communicate with the computer. Okay. This is what an operating system is. Why are we trying to communicate with the computer? Because on that computer, there will be apps stored. How can we access those apps? Via operating system. So I'm not saying that, your answers are wrong. Everyone is talking about the operating system correctly. I'm just trying to solve doubts for those who are unsure of what an interface is. Now, Bikramjit, is it clear what an interface is? So we have VKS, right, who said operating system is a system software that manages computer hardware, resources, and provides common services for computer programs. This is a bookish definition, and I don't want you to remember that. Just try to understand in this way by looking at this diagram. What does this diagram do? You have to use an application. As a general user, who wants to watch a movie or who wants to write an email, what will you do? In order to watch a movie, you will launch VLC Media Player, or if you're on Mac OS, you will launch Quick Stream Media Player, right? But if you want to write a report, you will launch Microsoft Word, or if you're on Apple Mac OS, then you will launch Pages. So those are applications. Whenever you have to use those applications, obviously you will provide input, you will get output. So how do you work with those applications? Because you have something known as an operating system. Is it understood? Yes or no? Yes or no? Clear to everyone? Now, just like your computers, guys and girls, just like your computers, your operating systems are also divided into two categories. So if you have your OS is going to get divided into two categories: general purpose, special purpose. Can you name any two general purpose operating systems? So कोई भी जनरल पर्पस ऑपरेटिंग सिस्टम्स के नाम दे दो. विंडोज, मैक ओएस, iOS भी तो है. iOS भी तो कंप्यूटर है, राइट? iOS भी तो कंप्यूटर है. एंड्रॉइड नहीं है. एंड्रॉइड. So these are your general purpose computers. What about your special purpose computers? Now, special purpose computers are used to, get done a specific task. Like you want to set up a web server, or you want to set up or you want to become a penetration tester or an ethical hacker. Then at that time, you will use specialized operating systems like Linux. And at that time, guys and girls who have written Fedora and Debian, so those are actually types of Linux. Those are categories of Linux. Under that, you will have Kali Linux. So suppose if I have to become a penetration tester or an ethical hacker, then I will use an operating system like this, which is Kali Linux. Okay. It offers me two types of interfaces. One is this, like you have on Windows. I have my recycle bin. I have my file explorer. Here the name of the file explorer is file system. So this is my computer. This is my desktop. Okay, whatever I want, I can have here. I have images here. I have images, I have songs, I can have whatever I want. But other than that, it has some other type of interface as well, which is also known as terminal based interface. Okay. Yes, Bishal, you have Arc Linux, you have Parrot OS. So these operating systems are special purpose operating systems like this one. The one that I have here. This is known as VMware ESXi. This is a special purpose operating system which is used to install other operating systems on it. Okay, so it works in a different format. Got it? So these are what operating systems are. Okay, so what we'll do today, we will keep our session till here. Tomorrow we have more labs, more practical stuff. Tomorrow I'm also going to show you one more thing. You guys must have faced some issue when you try to download something from the internet. Let's say if it's an MP3, but it stops working. Or if you download a video from the internet, it works on VLC media player, but it does not work perfectly. There are gaps, there are lags. How can you fix these files with some file management tools? Okay, so I'll show you that as well. So guys, I hope you liked today's session. I hope you enjoyed today's session. Okay, so we are going to meet tomorrow at same time, which is 7 p.m. and we are going to finish up with IT fundamentals. And after that on Monday, we will start with A+. Okay, guys. So thank you. Thank you everyone for being attentive. Thank you everyone for being interactive in the session. Okay. So no worries, Omatayo. You are going to get today's recording as well. And yesterday's recording is on YouTube. Okay. So thank you everyone. If any of your doubts did not get resolved. Okay. So thank you.